Roger, obviously tough loss for GB tonight. What is next for the British basketball programme?
Well, there's two things really. I mean, first of all, the positive side is we've obviously got the women in EuroBasket next year, so we've got to find a way of getting them to that. Men, we wait to see what happens with the FIBA Europe Competitions Commission in November. Last time round, of course, there was a first qualifying round for EuroBasket when EuroBasket was on, but I think that needs to be confirmed before we know what next summer starts to look like. Clearly, the under-20 men being in the A division is an important one. And obviously we have the under-20 women, so full breadth of the programme. We just have to look at the means by which that full programme continues the project.
And what are the means? Like, what are the options on the table?
Well, at the moment, we need funding. It's straight and simple as that. In my view, it's important to get public funding. That's why we're saying to the Minister, there's a solution in your hands. It's not about the UK sport decision, because that just becomes a he said, she said sort of argument. But the Minister for Sport oversees, policy-wise, what, £400 million worth of funding going into the Elite Performance Programme. Now, even if you funded all the team sports that have lost their funding, that's only about 1 to 2% of that budget over a 4-year period. It's not a great deal, and I just think it takes a bit of imagination to come up with solutions, and she has the ability to do that.
And let's say that the government says no, we're not going to fund you, what do you do?
Well, we've got to, I mean, it should be a mixed economy anyway, looking at the commercial side and the public sector side, so we have to look at other sources of funding. But if you want to run an optimum programme, there's no doubt public sector funding is important. So look at the optimum. We need public sector funding to provide a real sound basis, and we need time to build up a proper commercial programme that can replace public sector funding over time.
And some people say you've had 8 years to build up a successful commercial programme to back you. Why hasn't that happened?
Well, we had a successful programme up to London 2012 and indeed up to the end of last year. The reality is it's been tough after London, not just for basketball but for other sports. It's not an easy panacea. Sponsorship is difficult out there. There's a cycle that requires television. We've been delighted that we've been able to have these games on BT Sport. We'd have loved to have had better results, obviously, but we have had that support. So that's the start of it. We're on television. We've proved that we've got a product that can grow, but it does need time to grow in order to provide what the commercial sector generally needs.
You know, obviously from the outside looking in, you know, you're on TV, but you haven't got a shirt sponsor, you haven't got a main sponsor here. Like, why not?
That's exactly part of it. I mean, this year it was late when we got the television deal. We've been looking for commercial sponsors. They've not been forthcoming, so we continue to look for commercial sponsorship. I think the other thing for a sport like basketball as well is that there is a defined international season, and that defined international season covers roughly 8 to 10 weeks for the women, 8 to 10 weeks for the men, but of course there's a big part of the year where there isn't any international basketball. So we really need to look imaginatively as a sport as to what are the partnerships that will really appeal to a commercial sector, and that's why we work closely with the BBL. You need to bring in the grassroots elements that England, Scotland and Wales also have as well, and everybody is trying to work together to put that product together.
And if we don't get public sector funding, is it a possibility that the British basketball programme will cease to exist?
Well, I hope not. I hope not.
But is it a possibility?
Well, of course it's a possibility. Why would I say it's not a possibility? Of course it has to be. But I think there's enough effort being put in over the last 8 years, and enough will on behalf of England, Scotland, Wales, BBL, ourselves, to look at what could be done to help the programme work. One of the benefits of the last 8 years has been the improvement in the age group programmes. You know, there's real talent coming through on the men's side and the women's side through all the age groups, and we have to find a way of enabling them to develop here and enable them to develop so they become real good class GB teams in the future.
What sort of timelines are we looking at in terms of how soon you have to get extra backing to be able to continue to survive?
Well, right now, I'd be probably saying the end of the calendar year. But you know, you're asking me just after we've just lost to Iceland and gone out of EuroBasket. The reason why I say that is that clearly, from the women's point of view, don't know what date the draw is going to be yet, but it's not sensible to go into the draw and then withdraw, because you're then ending up going to be paying heavy penalty fees. So it's early days. That's probably the best guess I could make right now, and the sooner decisions are made, the better.
And then obviously from 2016 there's a contract signed with FIBA that says all the junior home nation teams are going to then represent GB. What is the current situation with that?
Well, the work's still going on between England, Scotland and Wales. We've been looking at the articles today in a meeting. Once all of that work is done, it's got to be discussed further with FIBA, because obviously everything has to fit with the FIBA statutes, etc. But I think in the fullness of time, once all of that work is done, you know, there will be a healthier British organisation able to take this forward with the support of England, Scotland and Wales, and we'll see what the future holds.